the very first thing I think to starting any business is knowing how to believe in yourself and understanding that you're more than capable to provide an amazing service. As long as you're treating people good, treating people right, and you're not in it for the money.
Even when I wasn't a business owner, I was a business owner in my mind. And I treated everything I did like it was my own business. So when I went into business, it was already natural to me because I've already treated someone else's dream and vision like my own. So for me to go into having my own, it was already natural. So it was easy for me to adopt that. And I already went through managing someone else's dream and someone else's business through the hardship. And every trial that we went through now that we have our own was just like amplified like 10 times, like give me more trials. Like if I'm not facing adversity, like I'm just staying stagnant and I'm not doing something right. So the fact that we continue to face like hardship in its own unique way proves that we're building something.
Welcome back to another episode of High Value Discussions. In this episode, I had the absolute pleasure of speaking to two incredible guests as well as two experienced entrepreneurs. They are the powerhouse couple who built the company Swyftfitness. Recently, my guests reached a major milestone. They successfully sold their company. But what's even more impressive is why they sold it. They are now using their exit as a stepping stone to pursue even bigger, more impactful goals. Goals that align with their mission to serve others in a more meaningful and impactful way. After years of dedication and hard work, they're stepping into a new chapter, one that's driven by purpose and a desire to making a lasting difference. As devoted parents of 4 and 2 God-fearing individuals, they built their lives on strong values, family, business, and faith. Even with all the well-deserved success, we dived into this episode and learned how these two stay grounded to their roots along the way. Ladies and gentlemen, I give you Delina and Will Gonzalez.
We were both born and raised in San Jose, and our families moved to Salinas the same year, a month apart, around the corner from each other, which is crazy. We went to the same middle school, didn't know each other. He said he knew me, but we didn't.
This was back in 2000.
Yeah, 2000. So we went to same middle school and then high school, and then we were in the same Spanish class, right? Yeah, same Spanish class. I had some other guy's jersey on, remember? Yeah, and he was making fun of me for it. And you know what's funny?
Forget that guy. We don't know where he's at today.
Yeah, same last name though. So, and he was making fun of me for it. So I'm like, all right, whatever. And so what's funny is he kept coming and visiting my other Spanish class when we weren't in the same class anymore. He would come in, because I'd always go to class early and just kind of sit there. So he'd come in and say, hey, what's up? I'm like, why does he keep coming to my class? What's going on? And then we really got to know each other more when we both had to take summer school. Mm-hmm. So bad students.
Yeah, we weren't the very best academically.
Very distracted students. So we ended up in PE together, and that was it. As soon as we hit the weight room in high school, that was it.
Yeah.
Like,
so
I was like, oh.
We met in the gym in high school.
He was power cleaning, and I was like, okay, he knows his stuff. And I had started working out at 13, so I knew my stuff. Yeah. So it was kind of cool to see someone else like have more of a passion for that as well. So after we hit it off in the weight room, we would walk around the track during PE, and he would always bring me a cold water bottle.
Gentlemen, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah, there was one time I actually forgot the bottle. I ran back home and make sure I got that water bottle. Yeah. And to this day, it was like the biggest flex.
So you had eyes on her during that time, right?
Yeah.
He would keep the room temperature water bottle, and he would bring me the cold
one. Cold one.
The cold water bottle, and it meant so much. And then he gave me my first present for my birthday, and it was so cute. It was like a chain that had a Jordan, because I was all into Jordan shoes. and he gave me, it had like a Jordan keychain thing on it, and it said
You're like,
my
I don't know where
name.
the necklace is now.
Yeah, it said my name, but he spelled it wrong.
I spelled her name wrong. Like there was no reference, right? I couldn't go to her Instagram. I couldn't go to
No,
her
there
Facebook.
was no social media.
And like, how does she spell her name? So I said, let's go. Let's just. So I gave the guy, and it turned out to be the wrong name. So.
Yeah, it was a dog tag. It was a dog tag, and
Yeah,
it
the
said
dog
my
tag.
name on it. And I thought it was so cool.
Yeah.
Wait, it said baller on the other side,
Oh
right?
yes.
Yeah.
What age during that time frame when you guys were like dating? When did you guys know when you're like, oh, this is my significant other. This is
Yeah.
my partner. This is the person that I want to spend the rest of my life with.
What's wild to even think about that because we didn't even hit on age. So I was 14 when we met.
Yeah.
And she was 15. So honestly, it was that time. And as years continued to, like, there was no in between time. Like there wasn't like an in between time, like where I was dating someone else and then we got back together. It was like 14, 15 years old, and we just hit it off.
Even at that age, like my biggest thing was whoever I dated had to have some kind of foundation in God.
Yeah.
And at that time, he didn't even know the name Jesus. Like he didn't he had never been to church, but he was so open to learning about it and learning more.
Right.
And so he went to church with us, and that meant so much. I didn't like push anything on him. I was just like, hey, come with us. Came to church with us, and then he just kept coming, and he asked questions, and to the point where I'm like, I don't know. I just go to church.
To the point like where
still
she
a
would
kid.
start crying. Like she would start crying because I'm asking like these hard questions. Like,
Well, how do you know this?
how do you know God's real? Like, what has He done for you? Like how do you know,
serious? Like he was like a grown up already. I'm like, I don't even know.
Like, we just go here.
I just go because my dad takes me. Like, Cause so it was, he would question, and I'm like, man, he's really like interested. So my parents would even answer stuff for him. I always say that my parents married him before I did. Like they loved him.
I feel like when you're with the significant other, like my thing is, if I meet my the parents of my significant other, it's like, you don't exist today. I need to pay attention to your parents all day.
Right.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So you got to leave on mark on them, man, because they will talk when you leave that house.
Yeah.
And you want to make sure it's impactful. Like where
Right.
the father and the mother, like, where did you find him?
Yeah.
Where did you find her?
But what's even crazy to think about is like not even knowing that that's what I'm doing, right? I'm only 15 years old dating their daughter. I have nothing to show for. I have no job, no finances, no like career. But them just seeing something in me and beyond like my current circumstance and what we were doing was like the most blessed. There was the blessing behind it all because them accepting me in to their family and entrusting me with their daughter. Like I can't see myself doing that with like my daughter's 15.
Show me his bank
like
account.
she's 15 years old now. Like I can't imagine there a guy coming into her life and like saying, "Oh, I'm gonna marry your daughter one day." Like, no, you're not. No,
Not in this house. It's 2025.
Yeah, 2025. We got to see that birth certificate.
Right? Seriously. No, one thing too, he always seemed like more mature for his age.
Yeah.
And one thing I told my dad was like, he reminds me so much of you. Like I was like, Dad, he reminds me so much of you. Like the way he works out in the gym, he works out like you. Like it was like, that was like huge to me. Yeah. And then the way he treated me and the way he was towards me, it was different. I was like, oh, he's like different.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
they invited me to church. So Delina grew up Christian, and I didn't go to church outside of like First Communion or a baptism for a child. So outside of that, I didn't have a relationship with God. So her invited me to church. It wasn't necessarily like, oh, I have to go because I need to stay with her. I need to be accepted in the family. I was willing to go and try it out. And I went the first time, didn't really feel anything. Second time, which is like, hey, I'm just here. That third time, like God really like rocked my life and just really came into my life. And the way I saw the way I was living previously was I'm only 15, 16 years old. Like I really haven't experienced life. But even what I had experienced, I realized it was all just a counterfeit of God's truth. And I was really hungry and passionate about really diving into and learning what the Bible said about me personally and how I can flip the script for our family. So there was some lifestyle that my dad had went down, and growing up I said and I said, you know what, I don't want that for my family, future family one day. So here we are. Let's go. Let's see what God has for us. And it's been ever since then. It's been 20 years now since Delina and I have met. And looking back now, 2 decades. 21 this year.
It'll be 19 years married this
19.
year. Yeah. Oh, by the way, he proposed to me. So after I graduated high school, he was a senior in high school.
Yeah.
What was the math?
No, I graduated, right? He proposed to me.
Crazy.
He proposed to me as a senior in high school. Like, he made it happen. Yeah. And it wasn't no cheap proposal. Like, he took me Carmel, Ocean Avenue.
Carmel's expensive.
Yeah,
Right.
like he knew what he was doing. Yes. So, he's just been, he's spoiled me since the beginning. So,
But a little insight though, now I'm not really ashamed of it, but I was ashamed of it then. But the engagement ring that I had bought her was from a pawn shop in Fresno.
Yeah.
But it was a beautiful, to this day, it was a beautiful ring.
I still have it, yes.
It was a lot of money. I think I paid like $3,800 for the ring from the pawn shop.
Especially during that time too. Yeah.
And not even that, I was making payments on it. I was paying the pawn shop. I think I would go there in person and pay the pawn shop. They trusted me back then. I guess they trusted you to come back and make payments in person. And it was not even too long. It was 2006?
Yeah.
And man, it was just...
6 months later, we were married. He proposed, and then we were waiting for him to turn 18.
I had to turn 18.
Yeah. He had to turn. I was like, can your mom just sign? Like, can your mom just sign for you, and then we can just get married? He's like, no, we're not. Yeah.
Guys, going back to the topic of faith, I would say for a long period of time, I had the word arrogant attached to my name because I was walking around as if like, I don't need to go to church. I walk and live by his principles every day. But I was like, the older I got, I was like, you know what? The way I honor him is by going to his house. Right. And I wasn't doing that. I really wasn't doing that. Right. And a lot of life events occurred in my life to the point where it's like I questioned faith a lot. Have you guys ever experienced that? Because when you were young, just getting into church, and then obviously you're getting developed, you're trying to accumulate so much knowledge. But for the both of you, have you guys ever questioned your faith during the adversities that life hits us with?
I wouldn't necessarily say like question our faith. I think it was more so of like questioning like why we have to go through certain situations. Like what we've gone through, I've always known that we've got to go through specific things like hardship in life to make us strong. But my thought, like, why did it have to be that hardship with what we experienced in leadership in the church? And we felt like, I've always felt like hardship is going to naturally come, but why inflict the hardship upon a generation when you should, as leaders in a local church, be ones to help propel that next generation and help point them in the right direction. So that's always been the hardest thing for me to understand is why was that trauma and that manipulation and the abuse and the control to get us to have such a frame of thought to really use the word of God to their advantage and not to really not for our advantage. So that's kind of always been my question is like, why did that have to be the hardship?
Yeah. I think it's the same. Yeah. Right. I think it's I don't think it's questioning our faith necessarily for myself either. I think more it was like, if there's people out there that call themselves people of God, why are they choosing to treat people the way they're choosing to treat people in a place of leadership, in a place of authority, and in a place of refuge and safety? Right. Like the church is supposed to be a place of refuge and safety. It's supposed to be a place for people to find hope. But why are we not seeing the hope like on our end or in the what you would call the kitchen? Because we worked for a church for 10 years and experienced the kitchen of the church. And so I think it was like a tug of war for us. It was a tug of war being pulled back and forth because you love what you do and you love the people you're working with and the people you're leading. But why does there have to be this tension
Right.
on the back end from the people you're looking up to, the very people you want to be like, and you want to help guide and lead you?
Right.
Why does it have to be that? Why do we have to experience that end?
Right.
We almost felt like at one point the protection barrier of your normal people coming to church, for them to, let's make sure they don't see that.
Right.
Let's make sure we're not that. We're almost the filter for them to experience good people and to experience love and true love and genuine love, because the Bible's simple. God calls us, what we're ultimately called to do is to love people and be the hands and feet of Christ on this earth. How can we best represent that? And so that's always been our stance. And even in the midst of that, we were each other's rock. I think when we would get home after working long hours, we would talk with each other and just try to figure out, okay, do we stay here? Do we go? Because this doesn't feel right. But we always felt like this is where God has us in this season of our life, and he's going to get us through. And once we feel like that grace has been lifted, then we can move forward or whatever next season he has for us. But we know there's a reason for this.
Right. Yeah, like we met some really good people. Like we have some of the best friends. We've built some strong relationships in the church. And I really do believe in the strength of the local church. But I really feel that there is a really strong piece missing. And there's a generation that we're going to lose a generation if we don't fix the problem in the local church, and really trying to control and manipulate and really for the leadership's advantage, only to increase and build their pockets rather than to really steer and point a generation in the right direction. So for us going into ministry, we were 19 and 20. 20 years old.
Newly married. We were only 9 months married
Yeah.
when we went into ministry. We went into a school of ministry, and it was a 2-year program that we joined, and then we got hired on staff afterwards. And then stayed there, had all our babies and everything, and grew our family. Didn't allow, even the financial struggle, we didn't allow it to keep us from living our lives and building the family that we wanted to build.
Yeah.
We always told ourselves and told each other that, hey, no matter what we're going through, we're never going to let anybody see it.
Yeah.
We're never going to identify ourselves as living in this, in the struggle, in the financial struggle. Yes, we were on every form of government assistance you can think of, trying to take care of our kids. We were trying to learn life and marriage at the same time, and have a roof over our head and all of that. We always made the promise, we're never going to allow our kids to see what we're going through. We're going to give them the best life we can, and people around us that we're leading, they'll never know. They'll never know what we're going through. We're going to take care of ourselves. We're going to stay in shape. We're going to work out, even if it has to be at home. We're going to take care of ourselves so that we always look our best, and no one's ever going to know that what we're going through. And so there's a good and bad side to that, because I feel like the bad side of it was we suppressed a lot of that. A lot of what we were going through, we just suppressed it, put it to the side. I don't got time for that. I don't got time. We got to just smile and wave all the time. You can't let them see you sweat. That was the mentality. And not being able to have like traditions for our family and place importance on those things. Ministry came first for us. And so
no sports. We couldn't even afford to put our kids in sports or extracurricular activities, because the demands of ministry for us was Saturdays, Sundays, were like our game time for ministry. And then all the weekdays, all preparation for the ministry, weekend activities. And then you got summer camps, you got midweek meetings, you got volunteer meetings that we're scheduling. So the idea of even trying to fit in those extracurricular activities for our kids. So we got a really late start in really like getting our kids in sports and activities. But even going back to like the ministry side of things, like as teenagers and young adults, like we looked up to leadership, right, for that guidance and direction. And we really put our trust in every word that they said and that was in the Word of God that they used to get us to believe a specific way. And unfortunately, those words and those promises never materialized in anything they said. But we always knew that if we can stay committed to God and prioritize Him, like I always told Delina, like God's our promoter, like God promotes, not man. And that's really what kept us in the game for so long. And there was times where we would come home and Delina would be crying. It's like, man, it's not fun here. Like, we need to leave. Like, let's go. And I'm like, no, not yet. Like it's gonna get better. And then year after year, it never got better. It's gonna get better. Next year, nothing changed. And as we continue to have kids, it got more difficult. It got more challenging as we navigated like life, and I've navigated being new parents and trying to immerse our kids into ministry. It really did take a toll on us as in our marriage, in our finances, and having to apply for Medi-Cal, food stamps, EBT,
WIC.
and WIC. And
WIC was fun.
WIC was fun. WIC was fun. That was not fun.
No, it was not fun.
If anybody knows what WIC is, they're little vouchers they give you, and it's specific, like the ounce of bread, ounces of milk, the specific juice.
Oh man!
And when they go to scan those vouchers in, if it ain't the right bread, you've got to stand there, hold up the line, and everybody behind you knows.
And go get the right bread.
And go get the right bread.
Yeah.
And I waited at least like 5 or 10 minutes one time for somebody to come back with the right, and the line. People are moving over to the next line.
Irritated with you.
Just irritated.
You know what's one amazing thing though is he never let me do it. Like he was always the one like, no, with WIC, I'm going to handle it because I don't like, he didn't want me to experience that.
Right.
And I think that's, here we go. I think that's amazing that he was through all of that. Like he was my rock, like through all of it. He saw what I went through with all my pregnancies and not getting time off through those pregnancies all the way through to having the baby. He protected me when I had to go and feed my babies and take care of them when we were on the job. Like he was my protector, and I'm so grateful for that because he was always positive. Like this guy, you can't make him mad. You cannot make him mad. Like regardless of what we went through, he was always so positive. Like he would be climbing stuff and being crazy and yelling and like excited all the time. And anybody we worked with can tell you that. And I'm so grateful because I'm like, man, we got married like out of high school. I could have married anybody. This could have been anyone. Right. And I'm just so grateful that God has led us. Yeah. He never left us. Like he always took care of us and always like, regardless of anything we went through, we always had a roof over our head. We were always taking care of our kids. Had no idea what we were going through or whatever. I'm just so grateful. Like I tell him all the time, like, man, I'm so grateful for you because I could have married anyone, like seriously. And I'm so glad, like he blessed me with you. Like you're so unique. Like you're so patient with people and so kind.
Man, it is a very big flex to seeing your wife cry and express herself describing you. But where did that come from?
Yeah. I honestly got to say, even prior to like being like starting to go to church, I think seeing even my mom, I don't think I've even shared this before, but the things that she's had to endure and the hardship that she's been put through with my dad, I was like, man, I would never want to put my family through that. And I would never want to put my future wife through that hurt and through that pain. And honestly, I really feel like that's where that's come from, is being able to see how strong my mom was through the trials that she had to face as a mom and raising us up. And then after starting to go to church, just the love of God, man, just the love of God that just embraced me and accepted me into the kingdom of God. And really, that's where that comes from, is really beginning to get immersed in the word and understanding that God's love will never fail us. And our job is to reciprocate that love to others. And who better to do that towards than your wife? And really that's where that comes from, is one, just the love that I've received from my mom and from my dad. My dad's an amazing person. I've learned a lot from him as well. And starting a business from, he has no education and ran mechanic business. And so, and growing up and seeing those traits in my mom and seeing them in my dad, I think it was a good combination. And then mixing the word of God in that is where it's come from. So that's where it comes from. And that's honestly, my goal is to always be that example. Not that we're perfect, but when we do fail, make mistakes, hey, we learn from that, and then we keep going.
It's very powerful how you guys are describing how the impact that faith in God has implemented in your guys' life. But you guys were under a church, under leadership that almost would push people away from God.
Right.
Yeah.
And the fact that you guys stuck to your roots, stuck to your guns, and you guys showed up regardless.
Right.
How long were you guys in that environment? And was it always walking away with questions? Was it always like, is this how it's supposed to be?
Right.
Like, when did you guys start to notice that something is off here?
Yeah, so we went through this 2-year school of ministry that was going to prepare us for full-time ministry. So going back to Salinas, I was on a career path to becoming a nurse. And I was already a nurse assistant at Salinas Valley Memorial Hospital. And Salinas, Delina was right behind me as well. She was on a career path. And one service, they had announced that this church in Fresno was going to be launching a school of ministry. And I sat in that first service, and it hit me like, oh, we're supposed to be there. That's us. Like, the power of God was so strong, and I didn't tell Delina anything. Like, hey, that's us.
Yeah.
So I let her attend the second service. She sat through that second service, and she heard the same message, the same call. They're launching a school of ministry, and she felt the same tug. So I quit my job. I was making close to $19 an hour. Straight out of high school, and this is in 2006, 2005, 2006. I'm sorry, 2007 time frame. And from there, we just felt that call. I quit my job, and we completely changed courses, and we moved to Fresno to pursue the call of God in our life for 2 years. And we went through that training, that ministry school training that was put on from the church. And for those 2 years, like, we're young, right? And we're full of faith. We're full of energy. Like, we'll do anything. Like, we want to be seen. We want to reach success. And we went through those 2 years in that ministry school, but we weren't allowed to work. You couldn't have a job. And I think that should have been a red flag for us. That was, I think, the start of like the control that was taking place, because anybody in school can go work.
Yeah.
You can go work.
That's crazy.
But it was like clear, like, if you're gonna do this, you can't get a job. And another red flag should have been luckily we were already married, so we feel like God protected us from a lot of the other things that our peers went through while going through that ministry schooling, and then even being on staff at the church. It was the grace of God, by the grace of God, that we were already married, because we feel like the course for our life through that experience would have been different for us. So us being married was God's protection over our life. So going through those 2 years of schooling was pretty like cutthroat. Like, they checked our phones. They passed a basket and threw, and everybody would have to turn their phones in. And they would screen the top executive leaders would take everybody's phones into a room, and you'd have to put on the Post-it note. You would have to put your passcode on the Post-it note, and then stick it on the little sticky note. Put it on your screen so they would have access to your phone. And again, we're going through this school, and like, oh, this is part of ministry. This is part of the training.
Yeah.
If we're
going
gonna
through the fire.
Yeah, we're going. Yeah, this is like we're
refining process.
This is the refining process for us. This is just the process that we need to go to. So we're going through those 2 years of training, and all along we're thinking that, hey, this is just the way God created us to be prepared for ministry. Like we're being like built tough to endure what's going to be ahead for us. So we graduate from those the 2 years of ministry, and the plan was for us to move back to Salinas to help the church in Salinas. But we got hired on. I got hired on as staff. But they brought both of us on as a couple. They said, hey, we're going to bring both of you on as a couple, but per church protocol, we don't pay the women. We only pay the husband. Yeah. And again, we're just
But
so...
we're young. We're young. We hadn't really, we didn't know...
Right.
Employment
It
rights,
was almost
none
like
of that
this
stuff.
is how it's supposed to go.
Yeah,
That's what you
yeah.
guys
Like
thought,
this is ministry.
Yeah.
It's just different. It's
Hey,
not
let's
like
just-
the work world.
Like maybe things will change. Let's start. Like we're only going to receive one check for
we
whatever
didn't
reason.
care. Like it didn't.
And for whatever
we didn't
reason,
question
like
it,
they don't
nothing,
pay
'cause we
the
didn't know.
wives, and I thought like maybe they don't pay any of the
Maybe
wives.
that's just how it is working in church.
Yeah.
You know.
But it was so going through that process, and we went through that after we graduated. The 2 years we were on staff for about seven
Yeah.
years.
Yeah. 7 years.
7 years. So all in total, we were a part of that ministry
Like
for
9 years.
9 years, close
Yeah.
to 10 years, that we were a part of that. And I say all that to say, like through all of that, we knew, even when we felt like we were being untreated, like we were being treated like unfair in certain environments and situations, we always knew that there would be a way out. Like there would be a way out, that God would promote us. And even as I was locking up doors, as I was turning off the AC, as I turned off lights, every light switch I turned off, I said, God, this is going to be my building one day, that I'm going to be turning my lights off in my building. Every time I would lock a door, I would say, God, this is a door that someone's going to lock for my company one day. So I'm going to give keys to someone one day, and they're going to honor my building the same way I'm honoring this building. And
We treated everything. We treated everything like it was our own. Like we owned it.
Regardless of how we were treated, I treated everything. If it was a scuff on the wall, I was wiping it. If there was a cobweb on the wall, I was wiping it. Why? Because I knew that God would promote us one day. And I don't looking back, regardless of how we were treated, and we could have went the complete opposite direction. Yeah. And we've seen some of our peers, and it breaks my heart to see them go down the wrong path, only because the weight of what we went through was so challenging, so hard. It was
heavy.
It was
really heavy.
Even talking about it, we've just recently started talking about it after 10 years. And the weight of it, we knew the weight of it would be heavy. And it's the reason why we've held off from speaking about it for so long, because we were prioritizing our family, rebuilding our lives, mentally, physically, emotionally, spiritually. And really our lives really didn't start until 2015. We were already 27 years old.
2016. 2015.
Yeah, 2015. And that's really when we entered the world, per se, because we were so immersed in our church bubble that's all we knew. So to be removed from that and be put into the world was quite shocking to us.
Yeah. Culture shock.
It was a culture shock. But the things that we were told, like, if you ever leave this place, you're going to end up in divorce. Just look at everyone else that's left.
I think that's why we stayed for so many years, because we were like, we can't leave this.
Like, we leave. Like, we're young. Like, I love my family. I love my wife. Like, I don't want my family broken if we leave. And really, and it was true. Like, people that left did end up in divorce, but it isn't the reason. They didn't end up in divorce because they left the church.
Yeah.
We don't know what happened behind the scenes and why they left, why they ended up in divorce. Could have been a million reasons why they ended up in divorce. But I feel like they just use those examples as to what would happen to any of the staff that left. Like, do you think it's better in the corporate world? You guys got it made here. All of those types of things were what was used to control and manipulate us to getting free labor from Delina and never paying her. To this day, she has never received a paycheck from that ministry. and she's worked for them. For even as students, we can say we worked for free, the way we were used and exploited for free labor. And it's tough because we do it to serve the church, but when you're bringing somebody in to work for you, it's no longer volunteer. Like, you're no longer volunteering when you've dropped everything.
Moved cities.
And moved cities. Like, it's no longer a volunteer thing. Like, this is real life. And it just wasn't reciprocated to us ever while we worked for the ministry. So, like, don't get me wrong. Like, we love God, and we know God's word never changes. It's just unfortunate that man will use the word of God to further their agenda,
their kingdom.
And it's really, and to further their brand, right? It's a business. It's all a business, and all of these local churches are just competing for the community's business.
Like, again, like, I want to go to church and just hear and listen to the word. That is it. I don't want to hear a church belittle another church.
Right.
It's like, what are we doing here? Let the businesses do their job and compete against each other.
Exactly.
The churches are supposed to lead people. And the fact that you just deteriorate them, they kind of feel like you guys walking away with kind of like question marks, like, is this how it's supposed to go? I think it is, maybe. It's like, you don't want to ever walk away from a building like that.
Right.
Like, we never really felt empowered. Like, through that ministry experience, there was always like a thumb on us. And it really never propelled us to advance in the ministry. It was always to keep us suppressed. Like, one of the biggest things was like being nameless and faceless. And if you ever spoke about yourself, like, you were being prideful, like, don't put yourself out there. You're to stay hidden. And really, like, those are the types of things that we lived by. Like, to stay, we stayed nameless and we stayed faceless. That basically means, like, don't be prideful. Like, don't put yourself out there. Don't talk about yourself. Like, don't celebrate your birthday. It's prideful to celebrate your birthday.
Or don't expect us to tell you happy birthday because it's prideful. Like, it's not important.
These are true stories. Like, this is like true accounts of like stuff that we were trained and manipulated to believe. Like, in hindsight, looking back now, I think to myself, like, man, it didn't have to be that way. Like, leadership we should have trusted our peers and our elders to really take in the next generation and guide us and point us in the right direction. So, a part of our story now, and we'll get into this more, is we want to do everything we can for this next generation that wasn't done for us. That's our fight for humanity. In order for us to save this next generation, they need to see a true expression and love of God. And they know it. They know what's out. They know what's up. Like, we can't fool. Like, we cannot fool this next generation. The word of God and holiness needs to be the premise and everything we do moving forward.
And that's our fight. To be the root of everything.
It does.
And that's our fight. And that's our fight with our kids and how we raise our kids. And how we school our kids, how we parent them. It's like everything we do, it starts with our family, but let's point them in the right direction as best as we can. And speaking of problem solving, so funny story is I found out that you can use your EBT card at Whole Foods. And I ran, Delina, you can use an EBT card to get sandwiches at Whole Foods. So I was like, I don't know how we're going to eat at Whole Foods, but I just solved the problem. Whole Foods takes EBT cards. And this is while we're in ministry.
And we're not going on dates. None of that, you know?
So we're going to Whole Foods on dates.
On our lunchtime.
Our
Our date was going to Whole Foods to get a good sandwich and chips from Whole Foods. It was the best. And to be around prosperity, to be around success, like, that was like our outlet.
Every
Seriously.
time. Like, we drove through, like, when we lived in Fresno, we drove
all the
through
time.
Like multi-million-dollar neighborhoods. And we were on EBT and food stamps.
We take tours of houses all the time.
Like, we went to this house, this Lakeside View house in Fresno, and like, we're only making $3.50. And the idea of even ever living in this house seemed impossible, but we knew with God it would be possible one day, and that's how we've continued to live our lives. With everything we do.
went to like the nice parks, like we went to the neighborhoods
Yeah.
and took our kids to the nice parks.
Yeah.
Like these kids are gonna experience the
Right.
best. Like that was our
Yeah.
goal.
Like if anyone ever saw us eating at Whole Foods, like while we worked at church, they'd be like, "Man, the staff really takes." I mean, they
take good
they
care of
really
them.
take good care of their staff, but we were on EBT, using our card, buying those sandwiches.
We didn't go grocery shopping there. We didn't.
Occasionally,
splurge
everybody get
on
an
sandwiches.
apple.
Maybe an apple. Yeah, what's that Whole Foods apple taste like? Man.
No, but I mean that what you guys were saying from that story, the people who were built up and grown into wealth, it's almost like they have to go to another country and see what poor looks like.
Right.
But you guys are putting yourselves in position and have put yourselves in positions of value so you can pass it down to other
Absolutely,
people.
man.
Right.
So
right.
that's crazy thing
Yeah.
too. Like when you guys were serving the church, but there was something in your guys' head.
Yeah.
There was something else that was like, you know what, we want to do this.
Right.
We love working out. We want to do this.
Yeah.
We want to do this. But how do we monetize it? How do we
Right.
put it out there to the
Exactly.
world? Like
Yeah.
it's very daring to put a business out there and start something of your own.
Right.
But you guys were in the discussions of that.
Yes.
Obviously. When
Yeah.
did that start?
After we were done working at the church, we got fired, by the way,
Yeah.
we got fired from the church, and I was fully pregnant with my fourth baby.
Yeah.
Wild. And they were like, your volunteer position is no longer needed. Oh, okay, I'm a volunteer. Didn't know.
After all those years,
Didn't
like,
know.
she didn't cut any corners, was on time, even submitted time off request forms, and
No maternity
No
leave.
maternity leave. Never called in sick. Not one sick day.
Would come sick,
We would have to show up sick to work,
fully pregnant.
and that was just those were the expectations of her. And to be called into an office and say your volunteer staff position is no longer needed, and it was like, you could imagine what that could do to a
Yeah.
woman, let alone never being paid or ever receiving a check. And then just going into a dark place and being terminated from being a volunteer to never receiving a text, not one phone call, not one message, not one call. Delina, how are you doing?
Do you need help with anything?
Do you need help with
Like,
anything?
Yeah.
Nothing. Like all the blood, sweat, and tears.
It was like
every
we didn't
minute,
exist.
It's like she didn't even exist. The least you can do is show some remorse, some empathy, some kindness from the church, but none of it was shown. And the reason all this like started unfolding with the church was because I had asked for a raise after close to a decade of receiving close to $3.50 combined, right? We only made $6 because we were only received one paycheck. So maybe $6.50 salary was our salary.
With three babies.
70 plus hours. We had just had our
The
fourth.
fourth one was, I was fully pregnant
Yeah.
with him.
Yeah.
So we were still, so that's when he asked, when I was fully pregnant with the fourth, that's when he was like, oh, let's kind of see what we can
Yeah,
do. Maybe
think
I can
it's
get
time
a,
to ask
it's like,
for a raise.
maybe I can get a part-time job and still work for the church. Like there was even that as well. So there were options
Right.
like that he brought to the table.
Yeah, so those I got called into an office and said, hey, unfortunately, the cards that you've this is word like this is I'll never forget the cards that you've put on the table. We can't meet you there, so we've got your position is being terminated. And this was like 3 months after I had asked for a raise that was reluctantly like given to me, which maybe brought our pay up to like $8.50 then. So like I don't cry. Like my world like came crashing down.
Always
like,
optimistic, always positive, like came out of every meeting with a smile on his face. Like I never saw it.
Yeah.
He came out like he saw a ghost. Like he literally, like his eyes were like wide open. I looked at him like, what happened? What's going on? And he just broke. And he like sat in the car and broke. I'm like, I've never seen him this way. This is like
right.
so crazy.
Like that was our life. Like that, there wasn't a plan
was
B.
not a plan
like,
B.
Like we were so trained to burn. Like they said, burn the bridge. Like burn plan B. Like there isn't a plan B for you. Like plan A is all you got, and really that's all we had was plan A was ministry, was building.
Didn't go to
the
college.
church.
We didn't have an education. We just had high school education. That was it. Like ministry was
Yeah.
it. That was what we were gonna do for good forever.
4 kids, And he said, like, we were so passionate about what we do. I said, I'll do this for free. Like, you don't even got to pay me. I'll still, and that's what I did. I continued.
So they
to
offered
serve.
him a position to work for free.
So the individual
staff
that
position to work for
fired
free.
the individual that fired me said, if you would like to do that, I do have a volunteer staff position for you, or you can volunteer. So I'm basically being terminated from being paid. Now they want me to work for them for free.
Yeah.
It is wild looking back now, but those were, I honestly do feel like leadership at some point had genuine, true, like authentic, like they were really willing to help the next generation. But somewhere along the line,
It just got
derailed. Like that vision that they had got derailed, like for whatever reason, whether it's like pressure financially,
Maybe personal stuff.
Like who knows what they were going through, right? Like I'm a business owner now. I understand the pressure that business and family and finances bring on you, but never to the point where it like has to jeopardize your character and integrity. So I don't know what was going on, but I do feel at some point they did have a heart for the next generation, but it just got derailed. Yeah. And for whatever reason that is, like God took us out of there, and it was God's plan ultimately at that point to get us out. After we left, like even hearing from some of our ex like staff that we worked alongside, like it just got weird after.
Yeah.
So it was God's protection.
So he took that job, the volunteer job, and he continued to work for the church for 4 more months. Had my 4th baby and everything, and he continued to work for the church and helped launch a campus, and he wasn't getting paid at all.
Yeah.
And so I'm at home now with all my kids, just had a baby, and completely culture shocked because I'm not working. I'm at home, just a totally different environment, totally different thing. I end up in a dark place because I'm like, God, what did I do all that for? There was no point. Like, why do I feel the way I feel? Like I've done things for your kingdom and gave everything. And why am I in this position now? Like, I'm not even hearing from a soul. Nobody. He's trying to look for a job at Target. Like he's trying to go work at Target. Couldn't even get a job at Target. Like we're like, what do we do? So as he's helping launch that campus, we talk about it and we're like, hey, why don't we just head back home? Yeah. Why don't we just get back to the Bay Area?
Right.
And so, well, that's a huge faith step in itself because to live in Fresno, the cost of living is a lot different. Yeah. Coming over here was like, oh shoot, like we have
it was a sticker shock for sure.
We're like, we don't know how we're gonna do it, but we know we need to go back home. So my parents opened up their home to us. They had a 2-bedroom apartment, so we lived in one bedroom with all our babies.
6 of us in one room.
I also had expressed when we were working at the church that I wanted to homeschool my daughter because she was becoming school age. So that was another factor of why my position was terminated. And so I continued to go after that and homeschool her, regardless of us not bringing any income in. We had a place to stay, and I was going to homeschool my daughter. And so I went through the public school system. They had online public school, and you get it all for free, and you get all the textbooks. It was like she was starting college. I'm like, what the? I don't know if I can do this. This is 1 kid. I'm gonna have to do this with 4. So we did that for the year, and oh my gosh, every year I always say it. Every year when I homeschool, I change curriculum. I always do because I feel like these kids learn differently every year, and I always say I quit every year too. So. Dude, I'm making you choke on your water. So I still homeschooled her. My baby's in the playpen, and the other boys are running around somewhere. So we lived with my parents for 4 months. Yeah. And we were searching for a place. We're like, how the heck are we gonna get a place? He's getting all these odd jobs, and he's in talks with another pastor from another church here in the area, and so he's working on that, and we're just trying to figure it out, right? Well, they had this program that was below market rate, so BMR apartments. And I think they still have them. Yeah. But so we applied for that, or we were applying different apartments and stuff. And this particular apartment in South San Jose, somehow got our information. We
Yeah.
never signed up. This is how you know God is just in it. He's been with us the entire way.
Yeah.
We get a call, and we were a lottery pick, or we were like first on the list or something crazy, which is unreal. People wait years, 2 to 5 years to get into a BMR apartment. And we were like on the list. And these were brand new built apartments.
Like
they were
luxury.
newly built, considered luxury apartments, and never been lived in. We had the view of the pool. Like, it was like the coolest thing. They call us and they asked us if we want it. We're like, heck yeah, like, let's go. So it was a 2-bedroom apartment, and all 4 kids were in one room, bunk beds. It was like the best. We absolutely loved it. And then they had the view of the pool, so they were like entertained. They loved that place. It was such a blessing.
Yeah.
And in that time, he had started working for another church, doing children's ministry again. And so this time it was only like 6 months.
6 months.
And we kind of like came back to the drawing board, and we were talking and like, hey, where do we want to be in 5 years?
Yeah.
Like, asked ourselves, because he's like, if I continue working for the church, we're not going to get there. Like, if I know that we need to do something.
Right.
We need to do something to provide for our family and start to put them first and put our kids first. And so I'm like, hey, whatever you're feeling, we need to do it. He felt like the grace was lifted when it came to that season of our lives. Like, all right, we need to do something for our family now. And so that's what we did. So we ended up meeting with the pastors and told them, hey, we're feeling a call to start a business. We don't know what. We know it's going to be in fitness, but we don't know like to what caliber. Like, we don't know.
Yeah.
And so they just really empowered us in that moment. And so we just we're like, all right, what do we do? I got it. Who's going to call the meetings? What do we
The church has a system where you have to be there. You got to show up. You do this at this time, etc.
Yeah.
But when you have a business, you're like, wait, there has to be a system
Yeah.
here too.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So do you guys come from any background? Did you guys understand or have a mentor along the way that kind of educated about business, or did you guys learn it on your own?
No, so we really took what we learned from ministry, because it was a business, right? So we managed
Each area of ministry was like your own business.
It's like your own little business. So
We
us
saw it that
managing
way.
the children's ministry, there was over 500 kids. So we managed budgets, we managed volunteers, meetings, training meetings, volunteer training meetings, finances, like curriculum, hosting summer camps and events, and working with vendors.
Working with a lot of people, volunteers, and all that.
So we basically used the administrative side of ministry, and then we used the negative side of ministry, and we took that because we knew how it felt to be treated a certain way. So we basically said we will never treat anybody the way we were treated in ministry. So we did the complete opposite of how we were treated in ministry, and built a business off of just loving and just showing kindness,
Building
and
community,
bringing people together,
serving people,
all of it,
making people feel good about themselves through fitness.
regardless of their like social like status, their finances, like no matter where they came from, like we accepted, like everybody just came in, and then we just used fitness as a platform to foster community, regardless of what people were going through. And whether they just got laid off or they're going through a divorce, like they knew they can come to a group fitness class and experience like peace of mind, health, wealth, feel stronger by the end of it, and meet new friends. So that's really what we premised our careers and our business off of.
Well, and we saw that as a missing piece, which is where we got the idea of our business model. And we saw that living in an apartment, you don't meet a lot of your neighbors, and there's usually not a lot of events that are put on, community events for everyone to meet each other. We knew the people below us. They were really nice people, and I, till this day, feel horrible because we were probably so loud. My kids doing flips and somersaults, and me working out and jumping and going. I'm like, they were so sweet though. But we saw that this apartment we lived in, there was a sick gym. Like, their gym was nice, top of the line equipment,
state of the art.
Commercial equipment, not even big either, but it had like a view. It was sick. nobody would use it. It was barely anybody in there. And I'm like, why is it? I would take myself and all 4 of my kids in there so I can get a workout in, because I'm like, no one's there ever. And so, so we saw that and we thought, well, maybe people don't know how to use the equipment, or maybe they're not confident in using equipment like this. You have to know what you're doing, you know? And so we were thinking, well, maybe how do we help people learn how to use the equipment? Before that idea, I had talked to him and I'm like, how do we offer fitness for free, but make a living? Because I want to offer it for free, but I want to make it. He's like, Delina, you can't do that. Like,
Can't do that.
he's like, people have to pay you. I'm like, yeah, but I don't want to charge anybody. Like, I feel bad. And so he's like, that's impossible. And then when we when we came up with the idea, I'm all, oh, so we're gonna offer fitness for free to people, and then the apartments are gonna pay for it, and it's an amenity, so I get what I want.
Yes. Yeah.
So what's awesome is it takes out the middleman of this person hasn't paid me yet, to just genuinely be able to build community with these people.
No
expectation from them, whether they show up or not, doesn't matter. We're always there. We're gonna provide a great experience, and it's gonna be something you've never experienced before. And so, sure enough, people, going ahead of myself, but people would cut off their gym memberships and all this stuff because they had what they needed right at home. And that was the biggest thing. Hey, let's make it convenient for people to have a good, solid workout. They don't got to think about it. Trainer's there to tell them what to do. And that's it. And they get to build community with their neighbors. They're all working together towards a common goal. That was powerful. No matter their status, all these people are in these classes. They're all sweating it out together. And it broke down walls to where these people were opening up to each other. They're inviting each other to each other's baby showers, birthday parties, all these different traditions and these different cultures coming together. Like we went to what was the party we went to?
I think the
Diwali?
Yeah.
Diwali. And he like dressed up. You dressed up, huh?
Yeah, I dressed up
like
in their attire.
Yeah, and oh my gosh, like just
dancing, like just getting down.
he was getting down. But I'm saying like that's the fitness element broke down walls.
Yeah, broke down walls.
People could come in stressed out from work and they walk out with a smile on their face. That was everything to us. And that was our goal was, hey, let's provide a service. We didn't even care about money, but we needed it so bad. We started this business with negative in our bank account. I'm not even exaggerating. It was literally zero. And I told them, I'm like, hey, we're at the bottom. The only way is up. We can't even go any lower than this. Like, what are we going to do to go higher? So he had like odd jobs. He was working for a cycle place, cycle studio. He was working the front desk at a hotel, just random odd jobs.
And then like I worked at a reception office, like for this accounting firm. I got fired from there. And that was probably the last job I've ever had.
He was like, Delina, I hated that job. I hated it. I can't do office work.
I guess they were watching me on the cameras and they were like noticing that
crazy.
I was just sitting there the entire time, like not doing anything. I'm like, I don't know. He's like, working the front desk. I just talked to people.
They're so mean to me. I don't know what to do. Like, I don't know. The ladies are mean there.
So I got fired and then never looked back, and I haven't worked now, and I haven't gone back to work in 8 years.
8 years?
Isn't it so scary too? Like when you do start a business, because in the very beginning, the charging is always so hard. Right?
Oh yeah.
Especially when we don't have experience in this field. Like we obviously have experience on our own. Like we work out, we take care of ourselves. But at the same time, it's like, how do we gain that confidence to be able to charge these people? Because at the end of the day, the background that we all come from, we like to give. The more that we give, the more blessed we get. Always. That's just how it's always been. But at the end of the day, if you give value to the world, you deserve compensation. So how was that relationship when it comes to like, you want to give to these people, you want to make these people feel good, but at the end of the day, this is a business.
Especially coming out of what we came out of, it was even harder because we had to truly, for the first time, really believe in ourselves. The very first thing, I think, to starting any business is knowing how to believe in yourself and understanding that you're more than capable to provide an amazing service. As long as you're treating people good, treating people right, and you're not in it for the money. So our biggest thing was, hey, he's like, this is going to be like church. This is going to be like we're working for a church.
Yeah.
We're building community with people. We're getting to know them. We don't have to preach to them or anything like that, but we're using fitness as a tool.
We use
to get
fitness as a tool, and then we use our lives as that example.
As the
Like,
example.
I never have to say the name Jesus. They can just know that there's something different about you.
Yeah.
Yes, agreed.
But the very first thing was believing in ourselves. Like
Yeah.
I said, who's going to call the meetings? Like, what do we, who's leading this? Do I make a logo? Like, I was like, we didn't know what to do. So I did actually. I made the logo on Word.
Shout out to Word.
Oh my gosh. We still had something that
we
said, so
We
we
had a
had,
business card. We came across a business card.
yeah, we had a
recently.
different name. So the name was Fit Logic. And, we thought we were big and bad because we got a cease and desist letter from this gym in New York. Yeah. And because they had, it was FHIT, like hit.
Yeah.
We thought we were being like,
Trying to be cool.
we were the only ones. And so we got a cease and desist letter as we're building our business. We were freaking out.
Yeah.
We're like, oh my gosh, wait, they know us? They know who we are?
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
right?
We're like, he's like, man, this is
all
a good
celebrating
problem.
us,
Yeah, we're all,
This is a good problem to have. So I made the logo on Word. I put like the F and the L like shapes. And that was our logo, and we made like business cards and stuff. So he went to his first apartment, or one of the apartments. He would go in and just kind of pitch like what we had to offer. Just pure vision though. Like we didn't have anything to show for
Nothing.
it.
No portfolio.
We Googled it. We Googled this type of business, this business model, and we could not find it anywhere. We literally had to all right, we're gonna pioneer this. We don't know what we're doing.
Yeah.
And so he went in and he talked to a manager and he just told them like, hey, this is what we have to offer. This is a service that we can offer to your residents. We think it would give like great retention. Like people would want to stay longer because this service is offered.
Right.
He just like gave it to him, right? And the guy was like, yeah, let's try it out. Or give me a proposal.
Yeah.
He said, give me a proposal. He was like, trip it out.
Proposal, what's that?
He comes home. He's like, Delina, I need a proposal. I was like, what's a proposal? I don't even know what that is. And I'm freaking out. I'm like, what are you talking? He's like, the guy wants a proposal. And I'm like, all right, well, let me Google it.
Yep.
So I literally Googled a proposal template. We didn't know, I'm telling you, we didn't know any of this stuff. The basics, didn't know. I ended up getting a proposal and he accepted it. I was like, it worked. I was like, it worked.
Yes.
Yeah, and to this day, I'm in contact with that.
Yeah, he's still connected
property
with that
manager,
manager.
and just thankful for him giving us
Amazing,
an
this guy,
opportunity and
man.
believing in the vision and what we were trying to build in these apartments, and really just building micro communities
Yes.
in these properties where they benefit from their neighbors and their residents building genuine relationships. Like when you move into a neighborhood or an apartment, like it'd be difficult for you to move because you have your friends there. Like you're not just gonna move because there's a new shiny
Like a
building
church.
being built right across the street. Like, no, I'm not gonna move. Even if the rent is $500 cheaper down the street, like it's not worth me having to move. So that's really what we built our fitness company around. And to really build that community and offer value to those property managers. So that's why they were able to pay us directly. So we are a B2B business, right? So we work directly with other businesses and corporations. So we don't sell directly to consumers. And that's kind of been the success in all that we do, is because we found a niche in the multifamily space. We're able to just leverage that and really have these apartments cut us a check for our services. And then we just go in and just everybody who shows up gets a free workout. But your property is already fronted the bill for you.
Right.
So that's been the beauty.
And that's a big
of
deal
it.
here, especially because of how much rent is just for a studio.
Yeah.
That was a big deal for people to have this amenity. Like it meant a lot to
Yeah.
people. And so for them to even just come home straight from work, change, and just go into the gym, like how convenient is that?
Right. Like we're there, we got lights, we got music.
And we made
like,
it, we made it worth coming
Like it was,
to.
it wasn't like, oh, I'm just standing there like twiddling my thumbs. Like we're not, like we're ready to go.
Yeah, so the way we started the first class, we had never had debt or anything because of like the years past. We didn't allow ourselves to get into any debt. And so he's like, you know what? I'm going to go apply for a credit card. We were zero in our bank account. He got an approved credit card for $3,000.
3,000, not
because
30,000.
we had such good credit. We had good credit. So he got $3,000 and he's like, all right, I'm going to use this to start the business. I'm going to go buy speakers, lights. I'm going to make a whole experience.
Yeah.
And so that's what he did. And we even had heart rate monitors. We were like,
yeah,
shit, it
like
was
we
a
were
good
projecting
class.
their heart rates on the screen.
Yeah.
Like we had a whole system.
This was
and
2016.
Yeah. That's when the whole heart rate monitor like craze was in, like Orange Theory type thing, like showing. And we kind of adopted that model, but we were taking that boutique fitness studio experience to your home. And ever since then, it's just skyrocketed.
I've experienced this, and I hear a lot of people say this. It's like entrepreneurship is probably the funnest and greatest game in the world. You know what I mean? Like you get tested every day.
Every day.
You know, you get to see a piece of yourself that you didn't know you had.
Right.
So when it comes to you guys didn't come from that background, but you guys put yourself in that position.
Right.
When you guys were dealing with all the ups and the downs, what are probably the biggest things that you guys learned about each other?
No, I think it's just been trust and loyalty. Honestly, like we've been loyal to each other and we trust each other through the ups and downs. You know, they say most marriages end in divorce because of finances. Right, the strain and the weight of struggling financially really puts a strain on a marriage. So through those ups and downs, like we always knew we had each other, and we really relied on our faith, just being loyal and being able to trust one another. So that's kind of what we've built our lives and our marriage upon, is that loyalty that could never be broken, and just really putting our trust obviously in God, knowing, because we've seen him bring us out like time and time again. So anytime we face adversity or any hardship, like we know God's going to bring us out. Like that's always our focus. Like, no, there's going to be a way out. Like no matter how difficult it is, like the first 3 years of business was the most challenging, right? Because we're building up, like it's just paycheck to paycheck. The first 3 years, and like one check could be the deciding factor whether I pay rent or not, right? So like us receiving payments in time from our clients was could be very crucial for us. But even through those moments, like we always knew, like, okay, we've been through some really hard times. Like this is nothing. We got this.
I think because we had already gone through so much, like we saw the strengths in each other already. So we were able to work off of that, but we're like, man, how much more fun is this to build our own thing? Like this is more fun.
This is us now.
We literally did all the training. We both took our kids with us. They would sit there and watch us train people, or sometimes my parents would watch them. And we built it up. He's like, I want to build it up to where we fill up our whole schedule, and then once I need to hire somebody, then I'll hire somebody. But we really took our time. But I think to answer your question, like we saw those strengths come out in the hardship, like in the tough times. And so we already knew how we can depend on each other through the process, but we were so excited to just start to have the freedom to build our own thing.
When there is something attached to your name, it is exciting.
It
gives you this weird piece of fulfillment that you're like, I didn't even know this existed. Like being married is a big type of fulfillment. Having children is probably the biggest type of fulfillment. And business, especially when it is yours, gives you fulfillment. When it comes to business as well, what are probably some of the scariest things about it when approaching the game, and obviously still being involved in it, because something could happen tomorrow, something could happen next week. We just don't know. Business is very unpredictable, but the thing that I love about entrepreneurs, they're natural problem solvers. They almost like they want it. Like, give me another problem, because that's another rep for me.
Exactly. Another level.
Exactly. So what are probably the biggest things that you guys have to deal with? And then you're like, okay, that's another rep, but they start to accumulate.
Absolutely.
You can probably hit on the pandemic.
The pandemic one, but I've always said, like,
that was a big one.
The pandemic.
No, don't start.
Don't start.
Not that
was all
kind of
true.
podcast.
Yes, it is.
Don't get me started.
Don't get my laugh on the mic, man.
Don't get me started.
A real laugh's gonna come out.
Man, no, I always say ownership and entrepreneurship is a mindset. Like even when I wasn't a business owner, I was a business owner in my mind, and I treated everything I did like it was my own business. So when I went into business, it was already natural to me because I've already treated someone else's dream and vision like my own. So for me to go into having my own, it was already natural. So it was easy for me to adopt that. And I already went through managing someone else's dream and someone else's business through the hardship. And every trial that we went through now that we have our own was just like amplified like 10 times, like give me more trials. Like if I'm not facing adversity, like I'm just staying stagnant and I'm not doing something right. So the fact that we continue to face like hardship in its own unique way proves that we're building something.
Right.
Like our hands are calloused, right? If your hands aren't calloused, like you're not building. You're just being stagnant and still water begins to like mold, right? So we need that steady stream of water just flowing through our lives. And that's really the way we see everything we do. It's like, okay, if we're not facing adversity, if we're not ruffling feathers, like we're not doing something right. So that's
But there were moments like reality of like not getting paid on time or like certain clients that wouldn't pay us for months. I'm like telling him like, you need to call them and tell them like, dude, we got to get paid, man. Cause we got to live. Like this is crazy. And he was so patient with every client because he's like, well, you got to understand it's a new thing all across the board. Yeah. These apartments were creating budgets for us. This wasn't budgeted. This wasn't in their plan, but they knew it was needed because it took the weight off of them having to build community and letting someone else take that on so that they can just do their job. Right. And so we had to be patient in the process. So it would take us months to get a new client, and it would also take us months to get paid from that new client. And so in those seasons, I'm like trusting him, like, all right, he knows what he's doing, because he's like, no, more than money, more than any amount of money, I'm going to protect relationship. I can't burn a bridge. I'm not going to call and keep asking. I'm just going to wait and be patient and maintain relationship, because all these managers talk. All these people know each other. And if I'm going to be upset about not getting paid, that's going to flow to every other potential client we have. And so that was a piece where he's got such a good, like, that's a gift to be able to be patient and being the provider of our household. You know what I mean? And so,
like, when you're building a business, you've got to understand that you're building a brand identity. Like, what do you want that brand to be identified by and with, right? So for us, when we're starting our business, like, I can't jeopardize our business's identity. So the way I interact and build relationship with people is either going to position my brand that we're building as a like reputable brand that can be trusted, or someone who's going to like just rob and like cheat and cut corners for my gain. So it just goes back to the ministry. Back to our ministry experience. Like, I know what that felt like, so I chose not to run our business that way. And we've seen success in our businesses because how we operate in integrity. And that's kind of how we've continued to build. Everything we build is relationship, is networking, is offering help to somebody and not expect anything in return, because I understand that it always comes back full circle. And if I can help somebody and point them in the right direction and expect nothing from them, is one of the most rewarding things you can do. And that's how we live our lives, is like, hey, how can we help you, regardless if we are incentivized for it or not? If we are, great, we'll receive it, or maybe we won't receive it. But so to answer your question, like, through those like hard times and like business, like anything that's thrown at us, like, we just see it as stepping stone. Right? It's not something that pulls us down. It's not like a weight that's going to drown us. Like, we honestly see it as another building block in building a business. So
another opportunity.
If you can see your trials as building blocks, you'll always be successful. But if your trials drown you, you're going to be struggling and just gasping for air all the time. But you definitely got to see those those trials as those stepping building blocks.
Yeah. I think what's so great about you guys and your guys' upbringing is you guys naturally want to leave a really amazing mark on people to the point where it's like you're not even trying.
Right.
So it's like when you're involved into the whole business world, people gravitate towards that. People are like, I want to be attached to these people. I want to work with these people. I did an event recently within my media company, and it was funny because the guy who hired me, he was like, you know, Daniel, other people were telling me to bring in this other guy to do the event, but they were like, I knew when you did our event last year, the kind of impact that you laid down in that room, the energy that you put down is like, I need that. And I told him, I was like, you know what's so funny? That guy that they recommended to document the event, he's much better than me. And I wouldn't have been mad at all. Like, that's okay.
Yeah.
But the thing is, when you bring this weird, strange, uncommon character to the game, it's almost like people just want you around. What you said, it's a gift. And the both of you guys have it.
Yeah.
You know, do you guys recognize, because a lot of entrepreneurs don't see this, is they've built something beautiful, but they don't like to pat themselves on the back. They don't like to appreciate what they've built and what they're doing and being of service to people. Do you guys recognize within yourselves how valuable you are with other people and within each other and within your kids?
Yeah. I think it's been really difficult. Like, that's the reason why we're doing this now, because we're just now beginning to recognize it and
being okay with recognizing it.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like, it's like, no, it's okay.
Yeah. Like, just like, no, you don't have to post it. Like, no, take that down. Like I don't want anybody knowing like what we have, like what we're doing. Like, no, it's like, this is our moment. This is our time. Like, we've built something big, but it's not to boast. It's not to show off, but it's basically to say, hey, this is how we've pulled ourselves out. And this is how we continue to overcome obstacles in business and family.
Yeah.
So to like manage all of that, like this is our time, and we're really going to leverage everything that's been thrown at us to just bring glory to God. Like that's what we're fighting for, to be that example for each other, for our kids, and just to continue to build something great.
We're constantly telling our kids, like, do you know that you don't live normal lives?
Yeah.
Like, do you know you get to be home? Like, you get to be home. Like, do you understand that I don't require that much of you guys when it comes to like school? I really don't. Like, I allow them to learn just as they grow, but also there's some structure, but I'm not a stickler. But like, do you know constantly, you know that mommies and daddies usually aren't always around.
Yes.
And that's what I love about homeschooling, is because you're going to let teachers and kids influence your kids.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's almost like what I love and appreciate about both of my parents is I learned principles from the good and the bad. And I took it into my life and I tweaked it into my own little fashion and just kind of raised the bar.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's what you're supposed to do.
Yes.
So your kids, they're going to grow up and see what you guys are doing on a day-to-day basis.
Yeah.
And they're going to be able to brag it to people. It's amazing what you guys are doing as a whole.
Right.
It's pretty impressive, but like you guys saying you're just starting to see that, which blows me away. Because I feel like, eyes don't lie. I feel like you guys known that within each other since you almost like left the church.
Right.
Yeah.
Because the confidence to leave that environment, it's almost like, no, we're going to take our own risk here.
Yeah.
It's our time to do our own thing and build something of our own.
I think internally, like we've known it, but we've never been vocal about it publicly, only because we know that
I think we've always wanted to get it right here, though.
Yeah, exactly.
Like with us and our kids, we've always just wanted to get it right. Not that we have it all together, but because it's chaotic at times. Like our best ideas have come out of the greatest arguments. Like that's. We're both. We both can be very stubborn, and we just like.
Hey, challenge is necessary. Come on.
Exactly.
But the greatest ideas. Speaking of the pandemic time.
Pandemic.
Yeah.
The pandemic.
Yeah. So we're not going there. So what's crazy is so we were doing really.
Maybe not today, but we're going to go there.
Okay.
Part two.
Okay, so we well, I lost my train of thought now because
pandemic.
of you. Oh, I gotta stop him now.
Oh my gosh.
So we're doing really well, right, in our business. I have to go back a little bit. When we were working for the church, well, I didn't know, okay, I'm going to say this because I didn't know that you get income tax and that it grows when you have kids. I did not know that. I'm so oblivious to it, right? So we have 3 kids at the time, pregnant with the 4th, and we get an income tax or income check.
It's a child tax credit.
Yeah, child tax credit. So we get that, and I was like, oh, this is like higher than normal. So we would always use, anytime we got that at the end of the year or beginning of the year, we would always use that to get everything the kids needed for the year. Like that's what it only went towards my kids.
Yeah.
This particular time, we were in a parking lot. He went into the grocery store, and I looked at the check, and I'm not kidding you. I heard it so clear. God said, you're going to make that every month. And I'm like, so he comes back in the car, and I'm like, dude, I feel like God just said we're going to make this every month. And he was like, I believe it.
Yeah.
I said, but how? I don't know how we're going to do that working for the church. Like, I don't know. We'll see what happens.
But the check was only like $3,400. But
No,
to us,
it was more than that.
38?
It was 8,000,
Oh, 8,000. You're right.
which that was a lot.
Oh, you're right. It was 8,000.
Yeah.
I think it's like 15.
We had 3 kids.
Yeah.
And so, so we would always use that for the kids for every time we got that for the year. So, but that particular time, God was like, you're going to make this every month. I'm like, all right.
Oh, that's right.
let's
Continue
go.
to grow every year. The
Yes,
amount
yeah.
continue to grow.
So, so I told him, and he's like, all right, like, I actually believe that. And I'm like, yeah, but how? Like, I don't even know how. Like, we weren't thinking of anything else at the time. We were in the thick of ministry. Yeah. And so I had forgotten about that.
Yeah. I forgot about it now.
We got to a point, that's why I'm here, babe.
Yeah, I know.
So we got to a point in our business, right? And we hit that number. And I'm not even kidding you. It's like yesterday. It was the day before that I heard it and it came. That was God. And I was like, I broke. I was like, oh my gosh. I said, babe, like exactly what God said we were going to make every month. We're making that. And we were tripping out because you can be in the thick of everything. Like you can be in the thick of all the work and the grind and our heads down, just going, focused, no idea where we were going. Like no idea how much we had progressed. No idea where we were living at the time. Like even the home we were living in was God. The landlord was like, I believe you're going to make the amount to afford this. What landlord says that? We didn't even have the income to live in that house. And she said, I believe God is going to provide the resources for you guys to afford this rent. You can live here. What?
Yeah.
That
To this
does
day,
not happen.
I thank her and the husband and wife. And we're
Oh, amazing
On
people.
paper, we could not afford their home. And she spoke life into us and like prayed for us.
Like she's
It
like,
was
God
an
told me
angel.
this house was for you guys to live in. Like I believe you're gonna be able to pay the rent. We didn't miss the rent. We didn't miss the rent
once.
not once. That whole 3 years we lived in that house.
Yeah.
We didn't
How
miss
much was
the rent. It was $3,500,
3,500?
$3,800,
$3,800.
which was insane. Like we came from a $1,200 a month.
Yeah, we went from
Rent.
paying $1,200 in our BMR apartment and jumped from
that
to paying
$3,800.
$3,800 a
Yeah.
month in rent in Morgan Hill.
So we had to make like a lot, like
Yeah.
triple that
Yeah,
or something like that.
Yeah, 3 times the amount.
Like somehow we had the deposit. We like made it happen. But she spoke it. She's like, I believe God's going to build your business to where you're going to provide, you're going to be able to pay this rent.
Yeah.
And we're like, all right, you believe in us. We'll live in your house.
Yeah.
No.
But that comes from not deviating and sticking to the
Yes.
vision.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Like
Yes.
that consistency and showing
Right.
up constantly.
Come
It's
on,
like,
man.
come on.
Yeah,
You
right.
got to show up every day and you cannot deviate.
Right.
Yes.
It's the biggest thing. And you
Yes.
guys are a perfect example of it. I mean, from all the stories that you guys told me off air, and then obviously now, you guys went through hell. And then every single phase of your life, there was just a piece of fruit.
Yeah.
There's another one.
Yeah.
There's another one. And they just keep stacking up
Yeah.
because you guys don't deviate.
Yeah.
Yes.
So that's the formula, honestly. People reach out to you like, what's the secret? What's this? That's
Right.
like, just don't deviate and stay consistent.
Keep going.
Even that's a boring answer,
Yeah.
but that's the hard truth.
Yeah. Don't deviate from God's truth. Like there's
Yeah.
got to be a foundation. Like God's truth is our blueprint and God's truth and our health. And that's one of the promises, 2 promises we made when we got married that we would always prioritize God as number one in our marriage and take care of our physical health.
Yeah.
And those two things,
Those two were non-negotiables.
Like those are our non-negotiables that we do not deviate from. So like what you're saying is absolutely right.
Yeah.
So if we can keep that, everything else around us, we can get back again. So if we were to lose everything tomorrow, we still have God and we still have our health. We can get it all back.
Even if I lost all the equipment in my gym, I work out body weight exercises.
Yeah,
That's what
we've
we're
been
gonna
there.
do.
We know what to
We've
do.
been there.
The water bottles.
Yeah, water bottles, water jugs. That's it.
Yeah,
That's all you need.
exactly.
There's no excuse.
Yeah, like there's nothing that we value more than our relationship with God and our physical health, to be able to run around and
Be present.
to be present with our family and our kids, and them see us love each other and have that strong marriage and relationship. So like we don't deviate from those things, and everything else just falls into place.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And as we built the business, we set those small victory goals, those small goals that we wanted to reach. One of them, the first one, was to get off of government assistance.
Yeah.
Like we wanted so desperately to make more than we needed so we can get off of that. And we reached it. And then this other milestone of like making what we were getting in income tax, making that every month. That was another milestone. Then as we're living in this home, right, where the pandemic hits, well, we have clients, we're doing really well.
Yeah.
We're like steadily growing, going higher and higher. And all of a sudden we're getting these emails of these apartments canceling all the classes.
Yeah, like 5 cancellation
all the
notices
in-person classes.
in less than 24 hours.
Yeah. So we look at each other, and mind you, prior, maybe like a year prior, I said, hey, babe, maybe we should jump into like live stream and like on-demand
virtual
workouts, like virtual workouts. Like it's a big thing. He's like, no, people want to see us in person.
They want me.
He's
They want me
like,
there.
they want me there.
They want me in my short shorts there. Come on.
That's what got you all the business. It was
Yeah.
those little itty bitty.
Yeah, they were.
What do they call them? Hoochie daddy shorts? The 5-inch? 3-inch?
No, something 5 inches.
Jeez,
shortest.
those things are
I'm
tiny,
gonna be rocking
man.
2 now.
Like, yeah, doing yoga in those. And yes.
She's all pleased.
I haven't gotten yoga session with you.
Jeez. I'll stretch you, baby.
Jeez.
Come on.
Okay, we're not going down that road
We're
yet.
gonna go there.
And so,
I've been there. Don't
so
worry.
Like 4 kids to show. That's social proof.
So,
different
yeah,
podcast.
so we're getting those. So I had told him prior, like, hey, we should join. No, it's not for us. The pandemic hits, and he's getting these emails, and I looked at him like, what do you think?
Yeah.
He's like, oh, we got to start doing like online workouts.
Yeah.
And so crazy. The way this all happened was insane. So I'm like, all right, let's turn the garage into a studio.
Yeah.
So we literally, the garage we had, it had an epoxy floor, it had the specs, and it was blue. So our colors were blue, pink, and all that. And so I ordered a banner, it's big old 7 by 20 foot banner that had our logo on it, ordered it, and put it right in front of the garage. So we couldn't open the garage. We had to use it like that as a 2-car garage. Put it there and started recording workouts. Well, prior to that, I was already recording workouts that I had already. I had a 4-week program I had already built.
Yeah.
And I said, oh my gosh, let's use the 4-week program as a buffer so we can build up this live stream and we can start getting clients for it. So we did that. We had content to already offer these apartments, and they took it, and they didn't stop paying us.
Yeah.
So we said, all right, we're gonna give ourselves 4 weeks. Let's get this thing up and going. It's a whole other beast, right? So we give it to them, and all of a sudden we have like a trainer. One of the trainers we were working with, because we had already been hiring trainers. She was a Pilates instructor. Her husband was a tech guy, knew all this stuff, and an engineer. So he literally built out our live stream for us and got us ready in like a week, And we were able to, and I ordered the banner. We got the banner and then a mat or whatever. And we did it all on our phones, and we started live stream.
Live streaming the workouts.
So let me tell you this, prior to that, years prior, when we first started the business, my number one rule was don't use me. I told him, do not ever make me teach a class by myself. Like, please don't. I would be terrified. I would mess up. Like, please don't. And I'm super knowledgeable in workouts and stuff, but I would not teach a soul. Like, I was so shy.
Yeah.
And so when we were living in our apartment, and I ended up coming across this amazing trainer. I'm gonna name her Hannah Eden. Freaking changed my life. She doesn't even know it. She changed my life. But I see her and I'm like, who is this lady? She's amazing. I see her program, and I happened to see, I used to work out to random stuff on YouTube because I didn't pay for nothing. I couldn't.
Yeah.
And so I found one of her videos to one of her programs on bodybuilding.com. She had a free workout on there, and I did it. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I love her. Oh my, if I ever train, like, I want to train like her. Like, she's crazy and amazing. And so that kind of sparked something in me, like, man, I want to train like that. Like, man, you could do that.
Yeah.
Like, she literally was like teaching, but she was a beast, like crazy. And so confident, and explained every movement so well, like, just so good. Yeah. And so I remember telling him, like, man, if I ever do train, I think I'd want to train like her. And so think about it. That was preparation. All of that was preparation.
That's wild, man.
Because when it came down to it, he's like, all right, go. I'm like, oh, shoot, I got to teach it. Because you got to think about explaining every exercise like you're in the room with them. Like, you're right there showing them the proper form, posture, all of that. We just did body weight workouts, and we would switch off. So I would teach a live stream. He would teach a live stream. And had the music like blaring, like lights. It was fun, like a club in the in the garage.
Oh yeah.
So we did that, and our business exploded.
Yeah.
Like, even more. Built a second part of the company.
Yeah. So now we're offering in-person classes because some properties we were still doing in person. That's another story how we did that. But now we're doing in-person and virtual. But to go back to what you were saying, like, how do we overcome, like, as business owners, like, we take everything that's thrown at us and we just leverage that.
Found a solution.
We just always find a solution, like, leverage it to keep growing and keep building and making us better. Yes. So the pandemic was our biggest year ever that we'd ever, like, we exploded, right? Because we were going virtual, we were able to expand nationwide. So we expanded to Arizona, DC, Hawaii, Virginia, Oregon. Like, these are all the states that we were expanding our business.
We had a trainer teaching in Florida for us, virtual. She was amazing teaching yoga, and he sent her lights and even the little sign, the little sign with the logo, and she, like, killed it. Like, her video looked amazing. Right. Like, we were able to replicate it with other trainers. It was so cool. We had Pilates, yoga, HIIT classes, strength classes. It was so cool. Yeah. So that was the pandemic was fun. Yeah. It was fun for us. Yeah. We made it happen.
Yeah. So we took that and we kept building it, and during that time, we knew that Arizona was wide open. So we actually moved our entire family to Arizona for a year so that we can continue to expand the business in person there. So the moment we got to Arizona, it was night and day. We're like high-fiving, like chest bumping. Yeah. We had just left California. During the pandemic, we just left California, where I'm being chased out of Nob Hill for not wearing a mask. Oh. And now I'm in Arizona, and we're like hugging and embracing everybody. Yes. So we used that year to expand in person during the pandemic, and all of our operations continued virtually.
We still did virtual. We converted that garage into another studio. So we just brought our banner with us and continued classes.
So we just continue to build in person. So this day we have clients in Arizona that operate our group fitness classes, and we have trainers on the ground there who are employed in Arizona in these different states, and we just continue to grow and leverage and build off of whatever life throws at us. It's just, okay, let's go, let's make it work.
Not only that, but I think what helped us grow too is what the client wanted. So the clients, we started with just boot camp classes, and then all of a sudden these managers were asking, oh, do you offer yoga? He's like, yes, we do. Yeah, we offer yoga. And so he's like, oh man, I got to hire a yoga instructor now.
Yeah, I'll never forget. I left that meeting.
It was just us.
And I was online, like trying to find a yoga instructor. And I found somebody.
Yeah.
And then we just continue to build that and do like guided hikes and Pilates and water aerobics. Anything movement related, we're pretty much Zumba, dance, everything. We're pretty much covering, but we've been able to grow and build based off of like the need, the demand. So like hearing what your clients want and like doing whatever it takes to accommodate their needs and make it happen, regardless if it's not your preference. Like I don't teach Zumba, right? But I can find a Zumba
those classes
instructor.
are, you better believe they're full. They are full.
And they're full all the time.
Yeah.
So we're just passionate about just continuing to build that community. Like everything just centered around like community. Like I feel like right now, like society is hungry for community. They're hungry for connection. They're just hungry for just networking. It just, that's where like, I feel like that's where we're headed now is like looking back, everything was by design, whether we like it or not. Like we had to go through what we went through in order to build who we are today. Would I have chosen that hard? No, I wouldn't have chosen that specific hard because it just to this day, it doesn't make sense. But it's beyond me. It's already past. I can't go back and just focus on the future and what God has for us, like moving forward. And for us, I think the future is bright, and we're just going to continue to build whatever God has for us.
So you guys told me a couple of days ago that you guys wanted to start a podcast. So what I do to every single guest, I put them on the hot seat. If this was your guys' podcast right now, and if there was a question or something that you were curious about me, what would it be?
So you've been speaking to us today for an hour and 40 minutes. What's your passion? Like what fuels you to want to wake up every day and speak to other like-minded individuals?
Man, I coming from just growing up, I love people. You know, I love people. And as I started to grow up, my curiosity grew. And the fact that I just kind of built this platform for that is because I'm curious about everything.
Wow.
Yeah.
You know, I see a certain topic, I'm like, you know, I could pick up books or I can message somebody who's in that sector and be like, let me learn from you. Let me pick your brain. Let me get something out of this. You know what I mean? But it all comes from, I just love people, man. Like going back to the whole connection and going back to the whole community, you need that.
Yeah.
And the fact that this platform is able for me to do that because I already have such an amazing network.
Yeah.
I met a lot of beautiful people along the way and I'm very grateful and blessed to be able to do so. But having this increases that.
Wow.
So it's like,
I can see it.
You can't beat that. You know what I mean? So that's why this, regardless if it doesn't say go big, gain traction.
Yeah.
Man, technically to me, this is already big.
It's big.
You know what I mean?
Come on,
I'm already winning just because I'm already
Absolutely.
pursuing the vision that I saw a long time ago.
Right.
You know, so that's kind of like the whole purpose of what this is, of having a platform, having a podcast, not really being able to speak in it, but being able to get my little tidbits here and there. But it's for me to learn because I'm just a student.
Yeah.
I'm only 29 years old, man. Regardless if I'm 35, 42, 67, I'm going to be a student for the rest of my life.
Amazing. I love that. And without you even saying like you love people, like you're that example. Like now hearing you say, I love people, like I can see that and it shows. And you're genuinely like wanting to learn from people. And I think the more people that we can get to love people, because we're so divided, right?
Yeah, jeez.
So we can get people to come together and really find common ground. Not that we have to agree on everything, but let's just love each other regardless. Even going back to ministry, they were like, if this specific leader doesn't square his shoulders with you, he doesn't want to talk. So make sure if his shoulders are squared with you, he wants to talk. If he's turned slightly, don't talk to him. That's it. Crazy. I'm like, that's crazy. You know what I mean?
I'm trying to think, how do you get to that level? You can get there.
Crazy.
So, but to hear you say like, man, just passionate about people and like, I want to give back and just, man, it's just, you will always be successful.
Always.
Having a heart for humanity.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Just humanity. Like regardless if there's a burning house, like to run into that house and just save the person because they're a human, not because of their beliefs and not because they have whatever hanging from their house. Like you're not going to not run in there because what their beliefs are. Like I love you so much that I would go and save you.
I met you today.
Yeah.
And I gave you a hug as if I'm not going to see you again tomorrow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the mark that I want to leave on people, you know, because every time I meet somebody, I don't shake their hand. I grab them.
Yeah.
I grab them because it's like, hey, who was that guy? Like he hugged me like family, you know what I mean? Like, dang, like, he hugged me aggressively.
Yeah.
When I go and when everybody's in my funeral, it's like, man, that guy just cared.
Yeah.
Right.
That's it. He just showed up and he just cared.
Absolutely,
And he made people feel heard, safe, protected, everything. That's just the mark that I really want to leave on. And it's not hard. It's really not hard. It's contagious.
When you hug, it's like, let's go.
Let's go. I want to pick you up. So he's like, put my man down.
I know you fought professionally. How many times a week did you have to train?
I was, for 10 years, I trained 3 times a day.
Oh, wow.
3 times a day. When you're an amateur, you're training like twice a day. You have 1 rest day, which is on a Sunday. But as a professional, right when you wake up, you're hitting miles, 5 miles.
Wow.
Then you have noon training. Then you have evening training. So your whole day to day is just train and sleep, recover, do it all over again. And I was obsessed. I mean, I studied the greats ever since I was like young and like watched basketball and watched boxing and MMA. And I was like, man, I just want to be, I didn't know what I wanted to do with my life, but growing up, I was like, I just want to be a professional athlete.
Yeah.
And fighting was weird because I was not confrontational when I was young. I almost shied away from fighting. Never, to this day, I've never had a street fight. I was always very smart with like my words and got myself out of it.
Right.
Because I'm like, I never want to fight for free.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, if I'm going to fight, there has to be some sort of like money attached to it, you know? And one of the reasons why I also got into fighting is because life was kind of easy. And fighting was so hard.
Oh, wow.
Fighting is the only sport where you can legally kill somebody and not get in trouble for it.
Whoa.
Wow.
So the fact that I'm signing my life away every time I fight kind of gave me that feeling. It's like, man, that's kind of terrifying that this guy trained for me for 3+ months and we're here right in front of each other finally.
Yeah.
And knowing if I don't kill you, you're going to kill me. Wow. That's the mindset of a fighter. So taking that mindset and taking it into the whole world of entrepreneurship, it's fun. Every attribute, principle, or anything that I'm taking into my day-to-day life came from fighting. All that stuff was easy growing up. I was well fed. I had a roof over my head always. My parents took great care of me.
Right.
That's easy. I'm not a guy now at 29 years old. I don't like easy. The more, I was telling you guys off air, the more struggle, the better. It's fun when there's suffering involved. It's fun when there's challenge. You know, so guys, I mean, we wrapped up. When it comes to my guests, if they want to leave some final statements, a word of wisdom to my audience, what would you guys say?
Hey, we're just going to continue these conversations, and we have been silent for far too long, whether it was intentional or just us just really wanted to focus on family. But we really feel that we as a couple and as our marriage come together when we communicate, and we are the strongest when we work together for the things of God, and when we are on the same path and the same vision. We're the strongest. But we'll be sharing a lot more of like our story and how we've been able to integrate like God and homeschooling and business and fitness and how we've built the life that we want.
Also, how to take care of chickens.
And how to take care of chickens. Yes. Yes.
She told me, pull me aside, she said, did you see my chickens?
Did you hear my rooster?
Oh.
I love my rooster.
She loves her chickens.
Yeah.
I love the chicken too.
Yeah, he wants to cook them though.
Some caldo later. I've been waiting.
That's why I won't go out of town, because my chickens are gonna be missing.
Maybe that one's ready. I picked one up.
Like, babe, dinner's ready.
This one's ready.
He's always telling me, this one's ready, babe.
This one's
like,
ready.
no, we're not doing that. We're not doing that. Those are my pets.
Oh my God.
No, but we're excited for what's next. And even sharing some stuff about business. It was
Well, why don't you say where we built the business up to, or where the business has gone? So we what?
See, I'm still afraid. I'm still even afraid. I'm still
He's
afraid.
like,
No, we basically built the business
so
from
in a span of 8 years.
in the span of 8 years, we've been able to build a business from a deficit to a 6-figure company. And in just a short 8 years, we've been able to build it to a place where we position ourselves to exit and sell the business. So as of January 1st, there's been a new owner of Swyftfitness, which we're extremely excited for, to be able to lock arms and partner with the new owner, and also to see where God takes us with our new business ventures. So we'll be talking more about it. So
Love it, brother.
like, comment, subscribe.
Oh yes, amen. Do you have any closing statements?
No, I think everything we said pretty much, like I think we're constantly just blown away at how far we've come and where we've been able to grow, and still healing and overcoming through the process of it. And also alongside our kids, like our kids have gotten to see the ups and downs, and they've gotten to see like the struggles we've dealt with emotionally, spiritually, and how we're overcoming, and having those talks with our kids and them understanding where we're at.
Yeah.
And I think just the biggest piece of advice is believing in yourself. The number one thing we can do is believe in ourselves first in order for us to be able to trust people. Because once you start to hire people in the company, there has to be a trust that you really believe that this person can take this company to another level. And every single trainer that we've hired, that he's spoken with, they're amazing people and are so passionate about what they do and just want to create a great experience. And we're so blessed and grateful for that. But I don't think we ever could have hired a soul had we not first trusted ourselves, each other, and believed in ourselves that we're more than capable to build something from no prior education or knowledge. That's been the biggest thing, and being able to stay consistent in what we do and do it well, the best way we can.
Absolutely.
Whether you have money or not, doing it well and treating people good, and being able to foster that sense of community and love and care and service. It has flowed onto our employees and the trainers and the team that we've been able to build. So I think that's number one.
Yeah.
I love it. Guys, I am honestly very, very grateful to even honestly be here. It's a blessing. I'm going to walk out and drive blessed.
Come on.
It is so good to see you. I haven't seen you since I was a child, literally. It's crazy.
That's wild,
but
man.
what we were talking about off air is I love and admire and obsessed with seeing progression in people. If I haven't seen them in a long time and I see they're so different, I'm like, God, that's exactly what I love to see.
Yeah.
And honestly, you connected with him, game changer.
absolutely.
You guys together, unbeatable, unstoppable.
Thank you.
Guys,
Thank you.
thank you for blessing the show. Thank you for blessing me.
appreciate it.
Part 2 coming soon, ladies and gentlemen.
Let's go.
Thank you all for tuning in to today's episode. If you got a lot of value out of this, please do me a favor and support our channel by liking, commenting, and subscribing. Make sure to hit that follow button on Spotify to stay updated with our latest episodes. And if you are listening on Apple Podcast, I would greatly appreciate it if you would leave a 5-star rating, followed by with a review. Again, thank you all for the support. Stay loving, stay hungry, stay excellent.